All right, so let me ask you a question. Imagine you have a choice to buy one of two stores, or maybe more fun thought experiment, I guess, would be you get one store for free, but you can only get one of them. Will you choose, for example, a store like this, which has a scale of, let's say, off season, we're talking around 150,000 in revenue per month. Um, so off season, I mean, not Q4. And then obviously in Q4, and this is a Q4 type of product, to be honest, the store scales to something like 300,000 revenue per month. So in December, I think it was just under 300,000. So would you prefer a store like this, which has a higher scale, but importantly also a pretty shitty, to be honest, returning customer rate of something like 5%, average order value of something like $80, and a conversion rate of 1.32%, where you can see the funnel here? Or let's open up a different store, which is quite different, which has, so by the way, the currency here is different. So please excuse that difference, but it is a much smaller store. It's something like 5 times smaller in terms of scale. But importantly, the main difference here is that the returning customer rate is 5 times, not 10 times bigger. It's something more like 50% and not 5%. The average order value is much higher, again, currency aside. And the conversion rate is also considerably higher. So we're talking about 4% versus the 1.3% that you just saw with the previous store. Again, the funnel being here much, much tighter. And again, we can just go through a few months to also show you that, yeah, it's, again, 50% conversion rate, around 3.6%. Of course, those numbers fluctuate a bit. But the question is, which business would you prefer to have? One, again, with a smaller scale, but one that has literally every second person coming back the next month to buy again, and an AOV that's also considerably higher, and a conversion rate that that if you send traffic to this website, it's going to convert 3 to 4 times more than the other store. However, has let's just compare it, this time frame has a scale that's still 5 times smaller. And of course, I'm giving you very limited information, so I'm not even assuming the profit margin is roughly the same and many other things are roughly the same. Which one would you choose? Now, why I'm asking this question is because I want to help you understand how you can improve your store to maybe build a more resilient and stronger base, even if you in the beginning sacrifice the scale. You still prefer to do that, because then once you scale and you still have a high returning customer rate and a strong AOV and a strong conversion rate, right? You're building a much stronger business ultimately. And the key differences between those two different business models, especially in this video, and again, in many other videos, I'm going to touch on other topics, but in this video, I want to look at it through the lens of logistics. And this might not seem important, but this is actually the main difference between the two stores, and I think also the main difference in why we're seeing some of the huge differences in the KPIs here. So let's jump straight in. I'll tell you a little bit more about it. All right. So what's really the difference between this store making considerably more in revenue, but with a smaller returning customer rate, smaller average order value, smaller conversion rate? It has the scale, but many of the other, I would say, key KPIs of the business are weaker, versus this store that is a smaller store, at least in this time frame, but already now has a returning customer rate of 50%. And importantly, both stores are not subscription products. That's also the important thing, where I think it wouldn't be a fair comparison if we're comparing a subscription product versus a non-subscription product, but they're both non-subscription products. But in one, we have a 50% customer returning rate and a conversion rate of 3 to 5%. So let's go to October. Let's see what's going on in October. 3.77%. I actually went a bit down, because I think in August we had, those numbers fluctuate. Obviously, I hear 4.75%. So much tighter funnel as well. Well, there's many differences, right? There's many differences. Obviously, there's the difference in product, which unfortunately I can't share those details exactly with you. But I can tell you on a few of the other main differences, which will be applicable to the way you think about your Shopify stores, right? And one main difference is the way the stores fulfill their products, right? And this might not seem that important, but it really makes a difference. And I'll explain why. And why I chose those two stores out of many other stores that I think could make also a similar point, but not exactly the same point, is this store fulfills through a third-party fulfillment center, or 3PL, 100%, right? So there's no drop shipping here whatsoever. And our average delivery time is something like 1 to 2 days. I mean, because actually we sell in a very concentrated geographical area, which also is why the volumes here are lower. The customers literally receive their product on the same day or the next day, for the most part. Whereas this store we were still drop shipping here. So in a different video, I actually talked how in November we actually made the shift from drop shipping to a 3PL here as well, but still in November and in December, because we definitely it took longer than initially expected to make that switch. We were still drop shipping, and that is a big difference, because here the shipping times were something like 10 to 14 days. We were trying to use the express version where possible, and again, depending on which country the items were sent to, it was a bit faster, it was a bit slower, but we were talking about something like up to 2 weeks versus here 2 days. And I really want to emphasize this point, because I think a lot of people can take home some, I think, valuable kind of insights here, hopefully, of, if they manage to improve their, fulfillment model to such a point where, first of all, the customers are going to be, way happy with like a 2-day shipping experience or a 3-day shipping experience, and therefore improve their business overall, then they might even sacrifice the scale initially for building a stronger, more resilient base, of which they can then grow, potentially slower. But if they grow, then it's going to kind of stick. So I have, as per usual, a very nice slide, hopefully you'll agree, comparing some of the key differences between dropshipping and a 3PL. Now, of course, it's not, I'm kind of simplifying a few things here, right? Also those stores, again, many different variables, but what I can tell you is that dropshipping versus 3PL, right, has certain key differences that you should keep in mind, right? And you can, just for the same store, if you shift to a 3PL, you can have a higher profit margin. You can literally have a better unit economics model for every single product that you sell. And that is because of the bulk discounts, which we'll get into in a second, right? The variable costs are usually lower for dropshipping. That's what many people start with it. With the 3PL, you obviously have the additional cost of not only shipping the first inventory to the 3PL, but also the fulfillment cost of the 3PL, shipping it out to your customers. So yes, that costs more. That also, by the way, includes storage and other costs, like a monthly subscription cost with 3PL, because you have like your account manager and whatnot. But this can be offset with bulk discounts, right? So with dropshipping, by definition, you will never have bulk discounts, because, again, by definition, you're paying your supplier item by item, meaning that there's no even like conversation starter regarding bulk discounts. With the 3PL, right, because you're always buying in bulk to send to the 3PL, you can always start the conversation with any supplier. Hey, what if I order 2,000 units of this up front? Can you offer me a bulk discount, right? From China, the market rate I usually see for bulk discounts is something like 15-20%. Again, depending on the relationship with your supplier, how long you've been, working with them, kind of how their business is doing, right? What season, what the seasonality of the year. I mean, all kinds of factors. You can negotiate even more or less than that, right? I mean, I've definitely seen examples also with our store. We've been able to negotiate, even something like a 30% bulk discount. So you're literally buying the exact same products, but at a 30% bulk discount, right? So if you do that component right, you'll actually be able to offset the higher fulfillment, the higher variable costs of then fulfilling the orders to your customers. And more importantly, we come to the benefits, right? So that's why I wanted to make this comparison between the two different stores, because I just wanted to make the point that with a 3PL, it's much easier to achieve all those kind of other KPIs, which create a strong and resilient business, right? You'll have a higher retention, right? You'll have a higher average order value. I think why should be pretty obvious, because again, if your customer is happy because they receive the product on the same day, or they have 2 or 3 days shipping, they're more likely to come back, right? They're more likely to trust your brand. They're more likely to come back and make bigger purchases. So buy more, make more orders, buy more units per order. Then you can also charge them more for shipping revenue, right? So you can be, if you have a 3PL and you wanna, you can offer a standard shipping, which we typically offer for free, which in the US is 3 to 5 days. Then but then we also offer express shipping for an extra cost. Then we offer expedite shipping. We even have overnight shipping, right, for some of our stores. And there you can actually make a higher margin. I mean, in any case, it's going to increase your average order value because the shipping revenue that you charge, so the shipping cost, again, depending which side of the table you're sitting on, the shipping revenue you as a store owner make, which is obviously the shipping cost that the customer pays you, can be charged depending on the different options that you want to offer, right? Which the 3PL will allow you, right? With dropshipping, you don't have those options. You can say express, but that's obviously a little bit of bullshit, right? Like, sure, you can offer, 7 to 10 day express shipping with dropshipping versus like the two or even more weeks. But obviously that's not going to make your customers happy, right? Again, and that's going to kind of screw your retentions and all the other things, right? With that comes more pricing power. Again, just think on the product page, right? And again, this then goes back to the conversion rate that I was showing, right? If on the product page, you can say that your product, the customer will receive your product in 2 to 3 days on average. You can imagine the customer sees this straight away on your product page, the conversion rate for your product page increases, right? Which is also a reason, again, of why the second store has a conversion rate of 3, 4, 5%, right, versus the first store, which has a conversion rate of something like 1.5%. Not the only reason, of course, but I think it is a important reason not to miss. And with that conversion rate, you have pricing power because you can compare yourself to all your other competitors in the same niche selling similar products that, for example, don't have a 3PL, right? And they can't write those things, right? They can't say that they have express shipping and they have 2 to 3 days shipping, right? And if they do, they're lying, right? And the customers are going to obviously find out the moment they order and they see that it's not 2 to 3 days shipping, right? And that obviously that's not going to work for them eventually. And however, you will be able to obviously charge more over time because people will come to trust your store as having this professional service, at least from the logistics, right? And many other components come into it. And that all, again, ties into increasing the lifetime value of the customer and actually just improving your profit margin, right? Improving literally like the profit you take home, right? So this isn't some like raw bullshit of like, yeah, just brand building. Although I do think that's also a point to make that you can, like the way to really build a brand, I think with your D2C Shopify store is to offer also great logistical service, right? So great shipment tracking service, everything around it, as a part of it. But even if like that wouldn't be a thing at all, right? You can literally just take more profit home if you have a 3PL. So I wanted to make this point, and let me know if you agree. Let me know which store, after hearing all those points, you would like to buy. Or let's say, again, I think maybe a more interesting thought experiment is you could choose one store to get for free. Would it be this store? Or would it be this store? So let me know in the comments below, and check out the other videos where I touch on many more points on how you can grow your own Shopify store. Hey, before you bounce, consider subscribing to our channel, but only if you've actually enjoyed the video and found at least a few valuable things for your Shopify store. Also, check out our free Shopify app, Trackidex. We have a link in the description below. We're developing new features literally every day, and we're also excited to actually hear your feedback on some of the next features we should develop. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.